Hey, come here. Shh. You want to see my favorite guitar I've ever owned? It's right here. Don't tell anyone. This is a 1960 Harmony Meteor, all original. Flame maple, neck and back, spruce top, rosewood fingerboard. It's a work of art. And I got this in the 90s from a guy that was managing a music store I used to teach at. He sold it to me for $100, and it already had all these sort of pock marks here in the top, but that's pretty much it. Other than that, this is in really good shape. And this was, I would say, if any guitar is like my guitar, it's this one. This is the one I've owned the longest, played the most. This is the only electric guitar I had for a very long time, and I love this thing, but don't worry, I'm not going to cut it up. I just brought this in to talk about these pickups. These are called gold foil pickups. These are original DeArmond gold foil pickups, and they're sort of like lo-fi and sort of monophonic and just kind of dirty in all the right ways, and they become quite sought after. I could probably sell each of these pickups for like over $100 each without the guitar. That's how much people love them. And there's a lot of guys that are pickup winders that are making reproductions of them and recreating them. And I wanted to kind of throw my hat in the ring, but I don't want to just make a gold foil. I thought I'd have a little fun with the concept. And this is my first attempt at it, and this is what I came up with. Now, I'm no expert on anything, especially pickups, but the thing that attracts me to the gold foil pickup is not the look as much as it's the design. You'll see on this guitar, they're completely surface mount. They're only about 1/4 inch thick, like the whole pickup, and they actually had to be put on these wooden risers to work on this, sort of more angled guitar neck, and you can see the different heights. So they're like a complete surface mount pickup. You don't have to route holes for them. If anything, you have to raise them up. And I think that's kind of cool, and it sort of opens up the possibilities in guitar design. So you could actually just add a gold foil pickup right to your existing guitar. You could bolt it in between the two that are there or something, drill a hole, etc., etc. So that was kind of what I was thinking about as I was approaching these. The other thing about them is that they have this metal casing. They're kind of microphonic and sort of like vintagey sounding because they're old. They're not as polished and pure as a lot of the more modern pickups. So that's what I'm going for. Is kind of like a kind of trashy top mount pickup. You could put it on your arch top, you put it on your acoustic guitar, you put it on an extra guitar, and maybe even build something around it. If you get into the sort of inner workings of these, they were sort of crudely and inexpensively made and not very consistent either, from what I understand. So you'll see sometimes they would have like a rubber magnet, like a refrigerator magnet almost in the middle, then other times they'd have more like an Alnico magnet. There's not a ton of copper wire in there. It's all pretty simple, which is the other thing I like about this. And there's just not a lot of room to work, so you got to fit a lot of stuff in this very shallow package. And that's what I'm going to try to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is design my metal case. I do all of my designing in vectric software, so I started there and designed these two pieces of metal as well as all the interior parts for the bobbin using this software. I wanted the metal case, of course, it has to have sides, and like the original ones were like a stamped piece of steel, but instead I thought I could make these so I could have them laser cut by sendcutsend.com and then bend them on a brake. And then I also designed this riser, this wooden riser to put on it. So I sent my files off to SendCutSend for the metal to get cut there, and then I started cutting those parts out on my laser, the ones that I could cut here. You can use the coupon code 15SWAY all the way at SendCutSend to save 15% off on your orders there. I could not because I've already used it. I use them all the time because it's a great way to get these types of parts made. So I opened up the package and I tried bending the parts that I needed to bend on my Harbor Freight brake, but it was not going well. So I got into my truck and drove over to my friend Dave Gagne's shop at Elm City Vintage. I couldn't pick which photo of Dave to put up, so here's a couple from his Instagram page. Dave is basically like a metal worker, and he has this great old finger brake that he was very gracious to let me come over and use to bend the 90-degree angles on all of the pickup part lids that I wanted to do. And this was kind of a hassle. I don't know if I would do it this way if I make them again, but I was pretty pleased with the results once I really dialed in the best way to set up the brake and bend it. And this is one of my first ones, and it was not the best, but as I got going, they got better and better. So the idea for my first go with this is I have these metal base plates that have this little tab, and then I have these bent pieces, which is a little bit of a pain in the neck, but I got better at it, and most of them look pretty good. And they have little tabs on the bottom that can then snap in. I was hoping I could solder them, and you see I have to do a little bit of finagling to make them perfect. Like this one needs to come out just a tiny bit. Oh, there we go. But you want to have a little bit of a spring to it. It's actually pretty good. That one came out really good. And then I was hoping I could just use my soldering iron on high and kind of melt that, because I know the bobbin inside will get damaged with too much heat, like with a TIG welder or something. So I'm not going to be able to do that, but what I can do is I can put a little epoxy, but like this one here, if I get that bend just right, you can see I almost don't need anything. That's fine, but I'll just put a little touch of super glue or epoxy or something to just keep it still, you know. And then we put our bobbin inside. Now let's make the bobbin out of, I don't know, cereal boxes maybe? Like closet doors, cereal boxes are one of my favorite things to say for making templates and stuff. And since these pickups have to be very thin, it just made sense to be the perfect material for creating the bobbins and insulators inside the pickup. Simply cut them on my laser, and this way I could not take up a lot of space inside there, you know, with like sort of what I consider like a wasted part. But it's crucial that there be something between the metal case and the wire so it doesn't ground out. And then the center rings I cut from my other favorite that we just mentioned a minute ago, the old closet doors, and a little bit of wood glue, which works fine for cardboard and stuff. And there we go. I have a bobbin that I can now insulate my pickup and wind my copper wire around it. I don't have a lot of room to put a lot of winds, which is typical of these types of pickups. And so I use a thin 43 gauge wire. I think in the future I might even go even thinner to 44 gauge so I can get a few more winds around it. And that gave me about 4K resistance. So again, because I have to keep things thin, I just used some copper tape and soldered my leads and my wires right to that copper tape right on the back of the cereal box. And then I have one more piece of cereal box that will go in between that and the metal plate, so it's not touching the bottom. And there we go. That's all a 1/4 inch thick inside that case. But we need a cover. I wanted to play with the concept of gold standard and gold foil, and so I came up with this interesting way of thinking about the gold standard, the classic $2 bill. I had actually done a gig a couple years ago for our friend who everybody calls $2 bill, and he likes to pass those out, and he paid us this one gig in all $2 bills, and so I have a pretty decent stash of them, and I thought if I put them in and folded them instead of cutting them, that way it wouldn't be wrecking the currency. You could actually break the pickup apart and pull the $2 bill out again. That should keep the federal government off my back, right? And so I just folded the $2 bill up and used that little bit of epoxy like we discussed to just sort of keep everything in place. And this was my first one that I made to sort of test the process and see what would happen before I made some more. Check this out. This is kind of fun. That's just this pickup. That's that one. There's our sound, and you can hear there's a lot of noise because I got this fluorescent light over me. You know, we're sitting here like this. Everything's kind of noisy. But then we go to this pickup. I have the wire with the shielding just draped over this arm here, so it's grounding. See if it, just to give it a quick ground, and it's already quieter than these pickups. It's a little quieter. I think it's because of this whole metal box. It just has it's just quieter, even though it's a single coil like these are. It's quieter than these factory-made pickups, as far as noise goes. satisfied with the proof of concept working, I went and started making some more and tried to refine the process and get a little bit better and a little bit cleaner with each one as I went. And I also lacquered the wire to give it a little bit of a potting on the inside. Of course, I couldn't dip them in hot wax because all the cardboard would get wrecked. And went ahead and made some more $2 bills. But I was thinking of other ideas I had besides gold foil was like, brass foil, silver foil, copper foil, all that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to do something with that copper tape on top. But I thought that would be kind of boring looking. And so I thought to stick with the currency. What else is copper? I also wanted to try putting some patina on some of these plain steel pieces. So I thought I would do a couple of them like that where I patinaed the metal so it would look like less valuable than the shiny $2 bill metal. And then I went and did these copper-topped bobbins with that little hole cut out to help me recess in a copper penny. Of course, they're not really copper anymore, but there's a mix of metal. So I just simply put a little super glue and put this copper penny in, and I think it looks okay. I definitely like the $2 bill one better. I don't know if I would do these again. But if I were to do them again, I would move the penny so it wasn't centered and it would fit better underneath the arrows that I created in my case. See, I will very professionally install a third pickup on my guitar. I don't want to mess this guitar up, so this is what we're doing. Okay, so right now we are listening to the front de-arming pickup on this guitar. Now we're going to unplug that and switch to the one I just made. Without touching anything on the amp, of course. Pretty similar. And switch back to the de-armament. With some distortion. A little noisy, and I think it's because I'm not grounded to the strings. Yeah, see? So you're really hearing it with the distortion, but let's see if I can ground it. My pickup. Let's hear the de-armament. that was all my pickup. That was really interesting. They sound different for sure, but they don't sound like they're in different ballparks. The vintage DeArmond one is a little bit bassier, a little bit fuller sounding, and not quite as clear. The one I made is a little kind of more cutting and clear, but a little bit less volume and a little less warmth, obviously. So, and also it's just literally taped onto this guitar right now. So I'm excited to make a guitar for these pickups so I can actually kind of build something and see what they sound like for real. That'll be coming up. And I made a few of these, and I'm going to put some up in my store at newperspectivesmusic.com for anybody who might be adventurous and want to throw one of these on either an existing guitar or maybe on a build that you have coming up. It might be fun for you. So they will come with a couple of those shims so you could stack it up as you want or use those as a template to make them out of hardwood. Whatever you want to do, you know, if you're building from scratch, you could just set it all up so they just work the way they are too. And if you watched my last video about the water ski bass, you saw I put one on the bass, and I don't think these are good for basses yet. A little bit lacking for the low end there, so we'll have to do something with that. I'm going to continue to develop and expand upon this idea as I do with all my other ideas. So I hope you dig this sort of thing and had a fun time, because I sure did, and I appreciate you coming along on the ride with me. Thanks a lot, and be good. I made this guitar a long time ago. It's one of my earliest from my sort of new era of guitar making. It's made from pallet wood and some reclaimed Kumaru decking and some like really old oak fingerboard. And it's always been in my buddy's studio up in Torrington, the Red Room Sound Studio. I just kind of left it there for him to noodle around with. I made it with the electronics I had pulled out of like a cheap Telecaster copy that was broken. And while this pickup is fine, I was never happy with the treble pickup on it. So I thought I'd test out the concept of the $2 bill pickup. I simply removed the sort of cheap Tele copy pickup, I don't even know where it is, out of there. And there's a hole underneath it. I screwed onto this right above it. With this thing, I had to make a little bit of a drill hole here just to make room for that wire, and we strapped it on there, and now we have a whole new guitar. Let's give a listen to see how this functions. The neck pickup. Not bad.